Hey guys, welcome to episode 7 of Ultimates 10. I'm basically picking up exactly where I left off after episode 6. And today on the docket, I want to put down an auto crafting system that can not only fuel the reactor that is now behind me, so uraninite, redstone, coal, and dry ice, but I also wish to make a storage system that will store general mystical essences around me here. So let's get started. Funny enough, the first thing I'm planting is not even a mystical crop, it's just industrial hemp. And now that I think about it, this would need a too tall space to grow, so I'm going to put this down here. And this is because I need the string to craft up all of the smart cable that I wish to use. I'm going to power this guy on, and hopefully, perfect. And I have a feeling that whatever system I make downstream of this will need to be extremely robust, because this is way faster than I expected it to be. To get into smart cable, and specifically I'm going for the white and black aesthetic, so I might either pick the black or the white cables. I have to make covered glass cables, so it's just wool and a cable, which I have both of. There we go, 24 of these. And then... oh, splendid. Turns out I never got a quest reward for all of these things because... Cool. I'm fairly certain all of that I've received. In fact, I have a lot of quests I haven't taken back yet, but that's for later. Right now, got things to do. Right, so what? We go here. I need these, and that needs covered cables, which I just made a bunch of. So I'll put one in the system just so it remembers. And I should now be able to do this and request a whole bunch of these. I'm out of redstone allegedly, but that is a lie, as we have established. I am redstone rich, some would say. Now that I have the covered cables, I should be able to just use some of my white dye and turn all these white. So I'm going to make a bunch of frame drawers, which is just chests and iron nuggets, both of which I have in abundance, as well as some compacting drawers, which is just pistons, which I can make a whole load of. And I would also need a storage controller, and then the requisite leaking tools. That's a storage controller done. And I think I'm gonna go with the smooth stone and white concrete look. That's 7 of these. And I'll also make a couple compacting drawers in the same colors. As I'm thinking more about this, I'm thinking about a symmetrical type setup where I have drawers on either side and auto crafting behind the drawers. I guess I'll show you later, but I did want to craft up another one of these just so that, again, it's symmetrical and I have 2 points of output, because the output from the farm, it looks like it would be significant enough to warrant 2 drains on the entire system. And I do believe that is probably everything. I just need one of these controllers, which I'm going to have to craft almost, actually more than twice as many as these to make my end game controller, my goal controller. Except for now, I believe this should be everything. I'll grab a few disks that are currently empty for the sake of safety, in case I have overflows or stuff that I've overlooked, which should be enough. And if I'm to use disks, I would also need a disk drive, so I'll make one of those too. Alright, this is a decent haul of stuff, and from the previous system, I think I would like to grab both of these terminals. I can turn these around, but I would like to pop these off and take both of these. Also take this off. I'm not going to be using the system for much longer, so that's okay. I think I'm ready to set the system up. I wish to have a controller in the back, which is going to simulate this controller, and I wish this entire crafting system to be a subnet of the main controller. So I'm going to power this guy on, and I'm going to give this guy some storage, just so that I can emulate this being a full network, like so. Now, I think I'm gonna grab a bunch of these cables, and of course, I did mention in the previous episode, you can see in Jade at the top over here, it says 0 of 8 channels, and if I am to connect something over here, 1 of 8, 2 of 8, so on and so forth. So as a part of this mock-up, I think I'm going to put down the storage controller right here, and a drawer, or 2 drawers right here. And you know what I forgot? I forgot the tools. Alright, I just crafted these up. Now I should be able to click on this guy. Oh wait, click on this guy. And this bounding box is where the drawers can be. This bounding box can be made bigger. But now I just click this, and now I can lock both of these. Or optionally, I can just right click the controller to lock and unlock all connected drawers at the same time. Alright, I made the executive decision to add a compacting drawer as a test. But now I wish to add this storage bus right here and set this priority to be higher. So I'll make it 1000. Again, remember this, when inserting, higher priority gets inserted first, and then when extracting, lower priority gets pulled from first. So if you have something that's at a higher priority, it will over time fill up, and things in the lower priority will empty out over time. Now, this counts as a single channel, so one of 8 devices connected. Now I am sort of hurrying through this for no particular reason. I have made this a single block interface, so it is now a panel that I can attach instead of a whole block, and that is because on this guy I wish to put a import bus, which is one of these. So this is going to push all of its contents into the system, and I'm already noticing a flaw with the setup. Instead of this being a import bus, I feel like this guy should be a storage bus, and that means I'll have to make another one of these, and this storage should export into this so that I can put crafting upgrades in the export and have crafting on the subnet. I'll have to make a couple more things, but I'll return. And while I am here crafting the export bus and all that jazz, I am going to steal this crafting computer, because of course I need a computer to compute all that crafting. Okay, now that I've returned, I would like my interface back, please, which would be one of these. And I think that belongs, I can extend this cable out a little bit further. That belongs on this face here. And then I want to put an export bus onto this interface. So this export bus is exporting whatever's in this subnet here into the main network. So I'm going to connect that up to here and then put a storage bus over here. And all of this should be offline because this subnet needs power to run anything at all. And I'm going to have to do the trick with the quartz fibers. Do I have any on me? I do. Alright, so the trick with the quartz fibers was that quartz fibers can transmit power without sharing channels. So if I did that and that, now I have 2 channels online, and this still has its entire inventory because the export bus is currently doing nothing. So I crafted up a few capacity cards which expands how much I can put in here, and I put in a crafting card that allows this guy to request autocrafts. Now that that is done, this comes out, and I'm going to put down a couple molecular assemblers and basically just make one of those classic build styles. And I need to be a little bit cautious about how many channels I end up using, but for the sake of the demonstration and for the sake of my sanity, I'm going to keep this rather small because I'm only trying out a few seeds here. And so again, these look so nice. I really like the look of these, especially like this just looks so clean, so lab-like. Anyways, now this terminal should be unable to see anything from that storage because they're not connected directly. But for example, I can say, hey, from this subnet in the export bus, export out industrial hemp seed. And now you can see that the disk over there went from green to blue, which means that this disk has contents, and that happens to be 3, and now 4, and then 5 industrial hemp seeds. Now I feel like this is rather slow, and acceleration cards could be put in here, but again, it's a proof of concept, and I'm okay with it being a little bit slow. Now, I've pulled out all of these hemp seeds, that's green again, and I think on this subnet I also would like to add a computer. So a crafting computer goes here, and now it's occupying 4 channels. I'm on the lookout for my redstone seeds. Redstone seeds are in here. They're not in there. I wonder where they went. Oh, there's no way for me to look at what's in here, right? And that is sort of the advantage of having digital storage, because I can now take that drive, toss it in here, and there are my redstone seeds. So just as I was growing industrial hemp in the past, I'll toss down, actually for the sake of a test, I'll just toss down 1 redstone seed, and I'll just let it produce for a while. And in the meantime, I should encode a pattern that teaches the system to make redstone from essence, which would be this thing. Oh, wrong terminal. And if I encode this pattern, and hypothetically put this in here, this subnet now knows how to craft redstone, and this is slowly getting the resources required to craft redstone. The main system has no redstone at all. However, if I am to put redstone in the export, I should hypothetically start seeing crafts, if I've done this correctly. And sure enough, now this is slow, and I think parallelization, which is adding multiple subnetworks to a single cable. Like again, this entire subnet is using a single channel on this cable, which is actually using only a total of 8. I can make dense cable and use all 32 channels. Okay, that's in the wrong spot. I can make a dense cable and use all 32 channels and put down a lot more of these machines. But hey, that for a proof of concept is excellent. Now the real question is, if I am to take out all of this redstone, right? All of this redstone, and toss it into the compacting drawer, it automatically compacts it and starts making redstone blocks. And I wanted compacting drawers for ice too, so I can convert the ice into packed ice into blue ice and then energize it for the big guy in the back. But now if I am to pull, I had more redstone blocks in here, and that only has 12. And of course that is at a higher priority, so it's getting the redstone directly. Now it's not going in here anymore. So this old drive had a bunch of blocks of redstone. So if I'm to pull all of these out, that is still at 13. But if I'm supposed to put them back in, they go directly into here. So again, higher priority gets extracted last. Lower priority gets extracted first. And so, I think this is the design that I will formalize and build at a bigger scale. And the setup for the drawers I was talking about was something like this on one side, and then something like this on the other, of course built symmetrically, and then have another one of those dimensional chests on this side, which is extracting into a whole bunch of interfaces and exploiters on both sides, and then probably have like a tunnel type of dealio that's going through the middle that I can interact with all of these and say hello. And yeah, I in part wanted to speed through this as a test of my own knowledge, because I have not played with AE2 since 1.12, and I haven't had to set up a subnetwork just for crafting in a really long time. I have only ever set up subnets for moving items from point A to point B. Speaking of B, that is probably the setup I will use to move drops from Bs into the central storage. But that being said, I am proud of the fact that I was able to do all of that without looking at a guide or even slowing down, actually. I mean, I had to stop and think a couple times, but hey, this goes to show. Solving the problems, you get good at solving problems. And it's the next day in real life. I had some time to think about it, and spoilers, I did think about it. So let me really quickly walk you guys through with what all has changed. Let's start here. This is still the controller that is emulating the big controller in the back. I added some auto crafting bits to it, mostly just for drawers and white upgrades to get all of this up and running. Nothing too fancy there. I added a sink for water with a storage bus. You can just hook it up. It's actually like I did to the tank of lava back there. In fact, this is the same storage bus too. Fun fact about these terminals, they take on the color of the cable you put them behind, or the cable you put behind them rather. And yeah, I have slowly been accumulating a few seeds and a few types of resources just to test, and hopefully you can see these numbers changing essentially in real time. And that is all thanks to the system I've cooked up over here. So I guess to start from the very beginning, there's a storage controller that gets this cable from down here, which has 2 of 8 channels occupied, one of them being the storage bus that is connected to this guy, and then the cable takes a right turn and comes up to this ME interface right here. In fact, this is the cable that comes up. Now, this interface is where a bunch of subnets are terminating and feeding into. So feeding directly into this interface is the storage, which is then filtered through this export bus on the subnet, that is this guy right here. This single pipeline puts through all of the essences and materials from that farm that I wish to have directly accessible in these drawers, like the dye essence, which can be crafted up into every single dye. What is this called? I can just take one of these out. The fertilized essence, which I'm only keeping 2,000 of. The fancy wood essence, the unexplored wood essence that makes the bunch of woods from regions unexplored. And then also the regular old wood essence. Alright, moving on to further down the setup. On the what side is this? On the southern side, I've got an export bus, and that was the previous design that I've mocked up on the left here, which took items from this chest and then pushed them into this subnetwork. This entire line was its own subnetwork, and then this line exported into this ME interface. I came up with an alternative solution that seems to be working out better for me, and that is this one right here. So on the northern side, of course, that was the southern side. So on the northern side, I have a storage bus and an interface, and there's a connection that is exporting into the interface pretty much exactly like this, but a step behind. And this is connected to this through a storage bus. So in this subnet, once there's an item available in the interface, it tries to go to the next storage spot available in the network. The only storage spot available in this tiny little subnet here, which in fact is essentially, I can get rid of these two cables, is just this block, happens to be this storage bus that feeds stuff into this interface. And on one hand, exporters take acceleration cards. You can see in the drop down in the tooltip there, these guys take up to 4 acceleration cards. And these guys are basically instantaneous. So this basically lets me have more throughput, I imagine. Running out of breath here, talking too much, but I gotta explain my favorite part. I'm kind of proud of this single slice. It reminds me of how the computers of old were made by stacking a bunch of daughter boards on top of a big motherboard. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all are the real ones. Anyways, this guy is a fully packed 8 out of 8 channels filled on this little subnet here. And this is the brains of this tiny operation. So in this export bus, I'm basically filtering out some exports, and this is again basically the same trick as that one to expose the storage of this dimensional chest to this network. So this dimensional chest is linked via a storage bus and an interface and then a storage bus. So this subnet goes looking for storage. Hey, where do I find some storage? This is an endpoint. It feeds out of the system here. So it goes, oh, hey, I have an interface. I have a storage bus, sorry, over here. What's on the other side of the storage bus? The interface. The interface is then like, oh, hey, I wonder where my storage is. It's over here. Oh, what's this connected to? Oh, it's the dimensional chest. Wow, it all works. Excellent. So, yeah, that's how that little bit works. And now the subnet can see the storage that is inside the dimensional chest. I hope I'm doing a decent job of explaining this. I feel like I'm going around in circles briefly. But now, just as I built it over there, I've built the same thing here with pattern providers and sped up molecular assemblers and actually 3 crafting CPUs with 2 processing units so that in case I get items in bulk, they can be crafted fast and fast. Yes, I want them to be fast. I said fast twice. This has 8 out of 8 channels, and that is because everything that puts items into the system or takes items out is considered a channel. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And yeah, that I think covers everything. My favorite part has been having to figure out what type of subnet and what type of connections to use where. And My favorite subnet so far is this little tiny 1 block subnet right here. It's a single cable that's getting its power from this subnet, which is getting its power from this guy, which is the cable that goes all the way back to the controller there. And looking at the storage, if I just press middle mouse button to sort, other than these two seeds which I will not take out, nothing is really accumulating. My only concern so far happens to be the fact that what if I run out of like spaces to fill here? What if I end up with more than 54 item types or 54 seeds, and this is a 54 block chest? So I don't know. That's for later case I'll decide. But for now, this seems to be working just fine. I do have this exporter set to round robin, and so it tries to craft the redstone and then the coal and then the obsidian and then the blazing and then the fluix, and then there used to be wool here, and there was a wool storage drawer over here, but I realized that if I'm just going to do the compacting recipe twice, I might as well just export the string and have this automatically compacted into wool. But in case you haven't noticed, I'm getting awfully close to having everything set up and ready for that reactor. I already have the redstone, the coal, I'm yet to set up the ice, and the uraninite. But I did craft up the seeds for the uraninite, and also ice seeds I should have in here. I do. And I guess I can do these on camera, or live, to whatever effect a recorded video can be live. So I've just been sort of filling this out from the middle. So I'll put the ice seeds out here, and I guess I'll put the uraninite, and then I just wait a couple seconds for the essences to build up. So this, and I think hands down this has to be a simple win for packed ice, because there's no way 24 ice makes anything close to 20 packed ice. This is 8/9 as efficient of a crafting recipe, except it is 8/81. I guess I'll put the fractions on the screen, work them out. But this 9 of these ice craft up into packed ice, and if the packed ice is only 1 essence more expensive, I'm willing to automatically downcraft from packed ice into regular ice using this compacting drawer. Because yes, compacting drawers can go backwards. I'll put this here. This guy needs to export the ice, so I'm making packed ice, so I'll do that. And now, well, I seem to be having technical issues. That's rather strange. I wonder if I tell... So, is this the only CPU? Oh, it's because this thing is trying to craft one of these. What if I let it parallelize a little bit more? And of course now it's suddenly making ice. I think I was just constantly being swamped with requests. I can see the number going down, and if I sort again, there's less than a stack left. Okay, that's a little bit of a sigh of relief. I now have just over a stack of uraninite, whatever. Which, again, I will press U for uses. Each craft makes 2 of these, and this pattern I will put in here. Again, I'm preferentially treating the middle one, as this has access to 3 crafters, and these only have access to 1 molecular assembler. I keep calling them crafters, even though technically you get the idea. And I did want to mention that this export bus has something called a capacity card. If each one of these has 9 slots for patterns, I have a total of 27. So I need 27 slots here to max out this slice. And the good part about building this in slices is that A, it's modular, so I can just add more daughter boards and add functionality as it goes down the line. Or if I can come up with a better design in the future, I can just change the design as it goes on. But I now have to add uraninite over here, and I should just be able to click this in. And now, even though this has nowhere to go, it'll just start putting all of the uraninite. God, I'm having trouble with that word today. And you should see this number ticking up over time, because it's dumping it all into these disks. So I'll just grab all of this, and I think this is a fine drawer for it. I keep trying to call it uranium, which is tripping me out, because I can convert uranium into uraninite. I can convert uranium into uranium. Ah, you know what? I'll figure it out. It was fine earlier, so I don't know. Maybe I'm just having a day today. But this has slowly been crafting up. And now I have 1, 2, 3, and 4. I have everything I need to power that reactor on except water, which I also now have. And now that I think about it, it would make more sense for this reactor to be built over here instead. So I've got to steal that block too. But it would make more sense for this reactor to be over here, because then it's a shorter run cable to go that way. Just had to run home real quick to nab this guy, because I will now need this setup to craft me dry ice to feed my reactors. And, you know, I'll leave this behind. And I did also end up stealing these crafting CPUs to power up the cassette that I have built on my end. And I'm looking for a spot to put the energizing orb, and I think just for now I'll put it down here somewhere. I'll probably build out a floor right around here and put down some minor automation right here. So I've cleaned up the underside just a tiny bit, and I'm trying to figure out what I wish to do. Now I still do have this hardened ender cell, which is probably what I will use for power. So I don't quite know where anything's going to go quite yet, so I'll just start putting things down and hope stuff works when I try to figure this one out for myself. What I do know is that this little energizing orb will need its own crafting recipe, and I'm tempted to not have the system craft up the things for this guy, so I'm feeling like this little autocraft will have to be its own tiny little subnet as well. Can you tell I'm having way too much fun with all of this subnet stuff? I sure am. And a quick cable run later, I think I can put down this interface that I nabbed off of the floor over there, over here, and then have this interface stock items, let's just say 64, a stack of blocks that it brings in, and I hope that these reactors can accept blocks of redstone, and they sure as hell can. And then uraninite, I got it right that time. Uraninite, yeah, and I think another stack of uraninite will be fine. And then coal, and then another stack of these, and then blue ice. Blue ice? Compacted ice? It is blue ice. I don't know, black ice keeps coming to mind, but that is a different thing. Now, if I am to put a storage bus down on top of this guy right here, I have been using the old home crafting system, and in fact I'll show you right now. I'd basically just teleport back and forth between the old home, but let's try to explain my current problem with something I have a lot of. For example, let's say I have this charcoal or flaxseed, which I can actually truly afford to lose, and I had a bunch of these left over from a craft. So let's also just pull up the flax seeds in, or it's not flax, it's hemp seeds over here. If I just press shift click, you can see that I'm just slowly eating away at the hemp seeds from the system. There is no hemp seeds going anywhere. If I close this out and close back in, all of those hemp seeds are just gone. So I kind of strongly dislike using this because I have accidentally lost essences while trying to bulk craft stuff. But I don't know. I just wish this would work properly, but it doesn't. And I can't wait to move out. I am so close. Anyways, back to what I was up to. I was setting this up, and this was my storage bus. So now this storage bus will read the contents of this interface as its storage. And of course this subnet needs power, and that it'll get from here. Except right now, this is a loop. I need to use a quartz fiber, and I'm down to my last one over here, to make it so that now there's only one channel online on the subnet. Next up, I would need an export bus that I can just plonk over here. And I wonder if this guy can also do fluids. Can I say water and have water available as a coolant? No, I just need water as a fluid. Is this the basic water? Yes, water is available. Again, thanks to the sink. So now in this export bus, I should be able to put in water, redstone, coal, uraninite, if I can find it, dry ice. I would need a crafting card so that if the system ever runs out of this stuff, it tries to craft it. So I've just gone ahead and made 4 crafting cards because I know I'll need 4 reactors. And I shift clicked that in on accident, but now I'll just hook this up and re-automate this guy the same way I did back home, and I think we're off to the races then. You know, I'm gonna go off on a tangent. I keep running out of sand, and I think it's time for me to automate my sand for me. And the way I get sand is often by just RTPing and hoping I find some sand, but just by getting some dirt and fire essence together, I should be able to get this. So the recipe for these guys is fairly simple. A bunch of these elemental essences use fire agglomerates, and it's just a bunch of basic materials. You need 4 of those. And for the earth, it's similar. If I just search up earth agglomeratio, it's basically this. I'll have to go whack some shears on short grass, and I'll be back. Well, I tried updating to the 1.8 version of this mod pack, but apparently that's got a known issue with game crashes. A bunch of this information has been provided kindly by the good people of the ATM10 Discord, which, if I remember to, I will put down in the description below. It's basically a huge community of people playing all the mods packs, and it's a bunch of people all helping each other out. So come hang out, it's a nice place to be. Also, I don't know what was wrong with me when I was looking at these recipes. I needed fire and dirt for sand, but I accidentally ended up making earth seeds. So I will just set this up here, and here, and here. I don't need a lot of production for these bad boys. And yeah, those do have multiple uses, so I'm just gonna put the earth essence over here. That's the wrong earth essence. And then earth essence, so this guy, and then fire essence, which would be this guy. Every now and again, this gets a huge spurt of items, all of which currently do not have drawers, so I shall assign them. So I'm going to type in essence, and I know dirt doesn't have one. I know for a fact that the fire essence doesn't have one, and the earth essence doesn't have one. And this is just in the few seconds between clips, and I already have over 100 of each. And of course, I completely forgot about the fact that there's also, whatchamacallit, awakening. There's awakening, which uses all of the essences, so of course I will also have to eventually craft up earth, air, and water essence. I'm having truly a horrendous time with words. Please forgive me. I've been sucked into these subnetworks for too long. I've forgotten how to speak. The best part about having essences is the fact that I can now do something like this, and then just, okay, that's red sand, that is not what I wanted. I can just do something like this, and just make stacks and stacks of sand, which I can now smelt up, for essentially free. A little sand later, a genuine concern I now suddenly have, having put down all of this, happens to be the fact that if I put down 1, 2, 3, and 4 reactors and then many more, I would definitely run out of channels on this single puny cable over here. In fact, the subnet is already mostly full, and I think the solution to that problem is simply having an export into a new subnet. And you know what? This, I believe, also will help me save on this crafting card, even though I had more ready, because now I can just have the exporter craft up the dry ice, energize it, and bring it back into the system simply through this process. And having set this guy up, if I push an interface in front of this guy, this is now, hopefully, slowly going to fill up all of these. Now, this is horrendously slow. Yeah, I'm not satisfied with that. And also, I would rather have this round robin and fill it up this way. I will also now definitely put some acceleration cards in here, just so I get through this faster. But now you can see this is auto keeping stock of itself, and this should also, again, be able to manage the water. There we are. And of course it's not doing the dry ice because I haven't set up that pattern yet. So I'll put that pattern in, and I think it just saw the lasers flash behind my menu screen, but I would still need to put in the cables required to pull this back out to finish the craft. And I would need a wrench of any description. And once I pull this out, the craft is completed. And suddenly, I have everything I need. Except I don't like the fact that this is now filling up with water. I hope that's not a problem. It really shouldn't be, because I'm not going to be consuming too much of this at a time. But I do believe there's a way to control this and block these items. Actually, I really don't think it matters. It's only going to be used like one item at a time. So if an item gets picked off, it's just going to be refilled. And this is just going to be the buffer between the modules of the system. So I think I'm now ready to hook up my first reactor to this guy. And of course, because it's a subnet, I would need to use my final quartz fiber and give this guy some power. Now, again, there's two channels online. One is this interface, and the other is that exploder, which I now have to set up the same way I set this guy up. I've just gone ahead and rebuilt this guy, because I don't know why this wouldn't be working. I really just wanted this to work, honestly. Oh, unless this is a power tab. No, the red ones are power tabs. It should be able to... Huh. I'm a little bit confused. Yeah, so after consulting the guide, specifically about subnets, you can get the guide by pressing G on pretty much any item from Applied Energistics and expand this guy. If you go into example setups, I've found the item fluid pipe subnet to be especially helpful. So you can go from a storage bus to an export bus, from an import bus to a storage bus. Import to export doesn't work because there's no storage in the subnet. And interfaces work with other inventories around them. But one has to be an interface and the other is storage. And this is a one-to-many system that I'm trying to create here. So this leads me to believe that this barrel would be the interface with the items being stocked from the main system, and the many barrels over here would be the outputs to the reactors with storage buses on the side. I'm going to try that one, and I'll be right back. Okay, that seems to have worked. The guide helped out a lot in that case because I had this set up slightly incorrectly, and I moved over to a system that is using this interface, which is then hooked up via a storage bus, and then goes into this interface, which I will then have to reconfigure with all of these items, which then hooks up to another storage bus, and then the trend continues. So interface, storage bus, and then a few exporters, so 4, which means this guy will have a total of 6 channels, and then the next section of reactors will have 6 more channels, and I think I'll be golden. I hope the setup works, and I'll be back after setting this up. I think this water is the last of the things I have to put in here, and now this storage bus should detect it. And now I should be able to do the same for this exporter. I should be able to say redstone. And hypothetically, if I was a smart man, I would have put all of these things in my anchors, but I haven't. Uraninite, which is right here. And lastly, the water, which is right here. And now it should craft up everything it needs, and it's round robining. And sure enough, it is slowly filling up with water, slowly filling up with uraninite, slowly filling up with redstone and coal. And now I'm generating 250,000 Fe per tick. 238 Fe per tick. I wonder why it's a little bit lower than ideal. Reactor auto mode will stop when it's full and start when it's less than 70%. Sure, I'll save some energy doing that. So I've just gone through the nightmare of having to craft up a batch of these nitro ender gates manually in that little guy there, and even though those are diamond tier rods, that is just a hardened cell. So the first thing I would like to do with this newfound power is to set up automation for all of the power components once again, except currently I am limited by how many cables and stuff I can make. And that's a really easily fixable problem by just adding more to this auto crafting system and have more resources available for the central system to auto craft from. So in the next clip, I want to move a whole array of crafting CPUs and molecular assemblers on either of these wings over here. And you know what? After giving it some thought, I think having 4 reactors over there and 4 reactors on the back here is fine. I think the space in the middle I would like to set up as a large-scale energizing orb facility where I can request recipes and they are essentially instantly auto-crafted, and possibly make as many energizing rods as I can cram in this little space here. Editing Kesa here, and I think I'm gonna call the episode right here because I have about 15 minutes of footage to go through, and that's gonna end up in about a 30 to 40 minute episode. I did move a bunch of stuff around, but me actually moving into the space will probably be a montage for next episode. And after a very productive episode, this has been Kesa and Ultimates 10. And I'll see you next time. Peace out, people.